Welcome to Bites MD. Today we will be making baguettes from scratch.
So why are we using two different types of flour? I think it was type 00 and bread flour that we used.
We're using bread flour because it has a high gluten. We're using type 00 flour because it's a lot softer. So it's going to give us a little bit of a chewier but soft taste as well.
Ooh, that sounds delicious. Oh, so it looks like it's almost done. Actually, how do we know when it's almost done?
Why don't you try tugging on it a bit? Pull it up and spread it. Okay, so you notice how it's just tearing?
Yeah.
So that means it's not done. Okay. So to actually check the dough, you like pull up like this.
Oh.
You see how it's just tearing?
Got it.
It's too wet.
Got
so
it.
right now, we're going to add our pate fermentation.
Okay, is that what this guy is for?
Yes. So pate fermentation is a pre-fermented dough. Rip it by pieces and add it in. You can do this.
I'm doing it. I don't want to lose my fingers. Okay.
No. Sacrifice for the videos.
Ugh, sacrifice for the big
Sacrifice for the views. Okay,
Should I stick my hand in while it's still turning to check it?
Of course, whatever you want.
Now we're going to check to see if it's done. Ooh.
So you notice it's still tearing a bit, but a lot more gluten has formed. So the dough isn't as ready. So we want to mix it a bit more. Stop eating it. Don't eat it. As you can see, it's nice and stretchy, and there's a window pane. So that means the dough's ready. So now the dough's nice and ready. So we're going to form it into a ball, and then we're going to let it cold ferment overnight. The trick is, you see how it's very sticky right now? The trick is to flip it a couple of times. You can also use a dough scraper as well. Flip it a couple of times, and then Ray, you can pass me the dough scraper. It's the wooden one with the metal. This is a high hydration dough, so it's extremely sticky. This part is important because you see how it's starting to shape up. If you do too much, you'll tear the skin. And this skin is important because this is going to form the non-sticky part of our dough. See, it's not as sticky already compared to and then can you pass our proofing box? So we're going to let this proof in this proofing box for an hour or two, and then we'll put it in the fridge for a day or two until it rises about 50%. And then at that time, we'll have developed a lot of flavor, and then we can start baking.
So if you look at our baguette dough, you can see that it's doubled in size from when we first placed it into the fridge. And if you look at the side, you can see a lot of little air bubbles from bubbles that have burst or slash escaped. And you can see a lot of the aeration on the bottom as well. Welcome to Bites MD. And so now we'll be making our dough.
This is like
I know.
You're good introductory version. Anyway, so I'm just gonna sprinkle a little bit of flour on top. Sprinkle from height because this will help distribute a little evenly. Nice, and now it's underneath the. It just came out from the fridge, so it's a little bit easier to manage compared to if this was in room temperature as well. Because with the higher hydration, it's gonna be a lot more stickier. I'm just gonna slowly help the dough come off. So we're going to be weighing the dough 100 grams each. So it'll be like little mini baguettes that we're making. This will allow us to kind of portion control while we're eating as well, since we're not eating too much carbs. So keep in mind, it's 100 grams, but it also includes water as well. And Ray is going to stand here and look pretty. Scale, tear it, sprinkle a tad bit of flour and some on your surface, but not too much. So if you put too much, that's not going to stick, or it's not going to form as well. Okay, and we're going to divide this into 100 grams, as I said earlier. And we're also going to remove roughly a third of our dough for our pate fermentation.
And that's where you store a piece of dough, right? So that you can add it to another batch?
That's exactly correct. Very good, you've been paying attention. No comment.
No comment.
It's easier, I find, to do the roll the baguettes in squares. Some people will make it into a circle first, but I find that it's unnecessary and it also makes it kind of flatter. So we're going to start out an easy square one. A little flour. And then you're going to bring this up probably like 1/3 or so. My hands are a little sticky, so I'm going to flour a bit. Okay. Rotate it. Same thing, 1/3. Almost 1/3. Okay. And then we're going to do it one more time. This is probably the hardest part, or the part I struggle the most. Is the seam. People have a lot of different techniques on doing it, but this is the tech that's worked for me. Is that I push my thumb inside, bring it out like this. Bring it out like this. And then this part, the end here, is also bring it inside. You really want to get that nice seam so it doesn't burst open, and you really want to remove all that wet sticky part, because if you don't, it's just not going to look as nice. So even if you have to redo it or reshape it, put in a ball, I would usually spend the time trying to refix it. With some flour. Too much. So gentle roll, applying more pressure at my 4th and 5th digits, and then slowly stretch out. Make it nice and long. There you go. And let's see if we could fix this one. Let's just put in a ball like this. Let's just put all the skin surface, and I'm tucking all of it in this to form a ball. Sticking my finger in. And then put it down with the flour. And I rotate it to kind of close that gap. So for example, I'm using 3 fingers, keeping my hand in C shape and just rotating like this. This will make it kind of form a ball. Ideally, you're supposed to let this rest for 30 minutes and then you're going to form into that thing that I told you about. And then one last time. Ah, this one is messed up. Elongate it like this. You see how this part's all rough? And this part's too smooth. This rough part is going to really affect the aesthetic of the bread. But to be honest, it still tastes just as good. See how there's too much flour, it's getting harder for it to stick. So you want to be mindful of how much flour you use. And this is probably not the best one to teach, but that's fine. Rotate out. Looks a little better. More flour. You want to also create little folds in this. You can also get pre-made ones as well. This will help keep its structure. Now you want to make sure flour is nicely floured, because if you don't, it's going to stick, and then you're not going to have that nice shape. And you can fold it. It's kind of like little trenches, or you tuck them in bed. This one right here, there's a nice little ball. Put it in a Ziploc bag. You can let it sit in the fridge for 2 more days. I usually don't let it cold ferment for more than 4 days, because I find that at that time it becomes too acidic. But if you're looking to do a sourdough, that'd be a great idea to do. I used to make a lot of sourdough, but nobody in my family likes it, so I stopped making it. So I like to use the zip freezer gallon bag to store my pate fermentation. I have here a flipping board. You don't really need a flipping board, but it's up to you. You want to get it. Sometimes if the dough is really sticky, then it's easier to use a flipping board. For example, you just lift this over and it comes out like that. Keep in mind, we want to try to put the seam on the bottom, and you want to give it enough space for it to expand. Hopefully it expands. You can also use your hand too, or just get any type of flipping board. So it's a lot more difficult if you don't. This one's pretty long. Improvise. Improvise on that too. And then there's different types of scoring methods. You can either score it straight down, or you can make diagonal cuts. Make sure you have something super sharp, or else it's not going to cut. Okay. And usually I like to fix it. Sometimes if I feel like it's not deep enough, I'll make a second cut. This part's pretty important in making it expand. Versus, and make sure you get the edge as well. We're just using parchment paper. We're also going to use our parchment paper to go on top. This will allow it to steam and rise. If you want to make big cuts, you're actually not cutting diagonal. You're kind of more vertical, more like a 15-degree cut. And this will come out a lot nicer. And you're making it really long, basically almost 3 vertical cuts. And this would turn out nicer. Hopefully that'll give you a better idea on how to score it as well. The oven has been preheated to 425 degrees. And then we're going to bake it for 15 minutes. Ray's too busy eating pork jerky. You're going to give it a couple good sprays. and then close it as quick as you can. We're gonna let that bake for about 15 minutes. So now for the moment of truth, we'll take this out. It smells great. We'll keep that closed and see how it looks. Oh, so it rise pretty nicely for the most part. So now we're going to just put these on a cooling rack. And if you notice, the inside of this one here is a little bit more dense, so it's squished a little too hard. Versus say something like this, it's a little bit more perfect in terms of shape-wise. So this one will be nice and airy. This one will be a little bit dense on the inside, but the edges here are a little dense. So this is what happens when you don't apply even pressure. Right now you're like, hey, why is this white? It's because we're only cooking for 15 minutes. The baguette is fully cooked at the moment, but I'm actually going to be freezing them, and then I'm going to be reheating them in the future. So this way I'll have fresh bread every day. So our baguette are now finally golden brown. I'm going to take it out. It looks like one of them curved up a little bit, like a smile, I guess. And we're going to let this rest for about 10 minutes. And then we're done. But if you can see, they're really crispy. There you have it. Freshly made baguettes from scratch. You want me too? Come here. Over here. Let's see if the bread is cute enough for the cats. It's right here, silly. Oh, obviously. Oh, Mewtwo loves it. The bread is good enough for cats. So grab a dough. Okay. Yeah, make it. We'll do it the long way. Okay. Oh. Let me fix it for you. So we're gonna fold one over like that. Yeah. Okay. We'll just flip it around. We're gonna fold it again. Okay. Very good. You want to be gentle. And then now you're going to fold the third time. You're going to pull the upwards, up, out, squish. Not too slow. This will kind of seal in deep again. You put some flour on your fingers so this way. So you didn't fully seal it. So we're just going to roll again. You want to have it sealed because this will create a little bit more strength. So in.
And what are you looking for to know that it's sealed or not sealed?
Where there's no gaps. Okay. So if you notice, there's a little bit of hole there. I don't know if the camera can see or not, but following that. And so we're creating a seam basically. And this will be what holds the baguette together. So now that part's done, the seam's done. So now if you want to, you're going to gently just roll from the edge. That. And make it into an elongated baguette shape. So you're rolling outwards like this. Yeah. But if you notice, you're not really moving your dough. So, anyway. So that. See how it's rolling now? See how it's forming a little tip? You ready for your next one?
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to do the elongated way. So you can also do a little flour on the bottom so it's not sticking. But you don't want too much. And all that sticky part, you're going to try to get inside, and we're leaving the skin on the outside, so it's not sticky. And if you get pieces of dough stuck on your finger, make sure you remove it, or else it's going to get stuck on here. It's not going to look nice. Some will say put the seam down.
So it still feels a little sticky.
So put a little bit of flour in. You don't put too much of it overall. So the edges are sticky because it's not fully closed. That's why. Okay, try that. So our baguettes are going to be in various different shapes based on how we cut it. And that's why some people will form in a dough first and then shape it afterwards. So if you're going to form in a dough first, let it sit for half an hour before you start the shaping stage. Good enough. It's like a breadstick. Let it sit for about half an hour so at room temperature. Let the dough rest. It's a lot easier when you're making a bigger baguette. It's also kind of the beauty of it. Everything is handmade. You know, some turns out beautiful, some turns out oddly shaped. Like this one is like super long, but whatever. It's kind of like what was it? Was it Bob Ross, the painter? There's no wrong cheese. It's just happy trees. You remember that?
Yeah.
This, I don't know what to say. Can you not remember that? It's like one of those like most famous like video clips. You never seen it?
I'm actually being serious now.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Well, we'll watch it. Do you know who Bob Ross is?
Yeah, he's a painter from Baguette.
Yeah, you're right. He is a painter. He was a water color painter. But you will actually like his stuff. He's very, very good. You want to fix that part? It kind of looks like. So what you can do is you can apply a little bit of pressure at the end. That's too much flour. So when there's too much flour, this one, it doesn't really rotate. It doesn't really roll as well. I'm sure.